The Sad Tale of a Zombie Pigman, known as Rick. Devin Hebert, Rick's Story. September 11th, 2012. This is a horror story, so if you're not over the age of 18, it is recommended that you stop reading this now. Let us start off with the fateful day when Rick first traveled from his home, the Nether, to the overworld. You see, it all started when some humans in a tree village decided to build a portal that allows them to travel back and forth from the Nether. Before I go any further, I should probably tell you that Rick isn't a human. No. You see, Rick is a zombie. Not just any kind of zombie, though. It was much worse. You see, Rick was a zombie pigman. Zombie pigmen are extremely rare to see in the overworld. The only way you would ever see one is if lightning struck a pig. But in the Nether, zombie pigmen were quite a common sight. Well, enough of that. Let's continue the story. On the day when the humans in the tree village built their Nether portal, it was also the same day that Rick decided he wanted to leave all of his friends and family behind and go to a new world filled with fun opportunities and adventures. You see, Rick was just walking away from his home to try to find a new home when all of a sudden the humans' Nether portal appeared right smack in front of him. Rick waited because he thought it was suspicious. He thought that something was just going to pop out and try to eat him alive. After a few minutes of nothing happening, Rick decided he was going to go through the portal. He thought that whatever was on the other side would be better than what he had already had in the Nether. So Rick took 2 steps back, then ran and jumped through the portal. A few moments passed, and Rick found himself in another dimension. This new dimension had a bunch of things Rick had never seen before. For example, Rick has never seen water before. Once Rick was completely through the Nether portal and in the overworld, he was greeted by humans that went by the names of Z-Knight Z and Mario 01072. Rick thought that the 2 humans were being nice to him, when in reality, they were just trying to trap him somewhere where he couldn't escape. Once Rick was captured, he was horrified. He didn't know what the humans wanted with him. Did they want to dissect him and see what he was made of, or did they want to cook him and eat him to see what he tastes like? Rick was scared out of his mind. Later on in the day, which felt like forever to Rick, but was really only about an hour, he discovered that the humans wanted him as their pet. Rick was happy to find that they weren't going to eat or dissect him, but he wanted to know why they wanted him as their pet. Rick, being a zombie pigman, couldn't communicate with the humans. Every time Rick tried to talk to them, the humans just heard him squealing because he sounds like a pig to them. Later, Rick also discovered that he was going to have a roommate. His roommate's name was Bridling. When Bridling first came home to see Rick in his room, he was scared. He didn't know if Rick was hostile and going to try to kill him, or if he was passive. Once he found that Rick was a passive creature, he tried to befriend him. Bridling's first act of friendship towards Rick was by declaring that he had a roommate and put up a sign on the outside of the room saying Bridling and Rick's home. Rick quickly grew used to the idea of being Bridling's roommate after how nice he was being to him. As a gift, Bridling gave Rick a dirt block. Rick coming from the Nether, they never had dirt blocks, so this was a special gift to him, he thought. Rick thought he was going to have a good time living there until later that fateful night. When Bridling was finished with his monthly shower, he was strutting around the room completely naked. This made Rick feel very uncomfortable, and Rick just kept wishing he would just put some clothes on. About 5 minutes later, Bridling walked over to Rick and shoved him to the bed. Bridling used some of the string that he had gotten from killing spiders at the spider spawner earlier that night to tie Rick to the bed so he couldn't move. Bridling then began to rape poor Rick. Bridling shoved Rick's penis up his ass and started riding Rick's dick. Bridling was having too much fun riding Rick's penis to even notice Rick squealing at the top of his lungs trying to get help. I don't know if everyone in the town was able to hear Rick's squeals, but I sure as hell know I could. Why would Bridling do this to Rick? Who knows? Maybe it's one of his crazy fantasies. Bridling once told me and Super Benny 758 about one of his fantasies. He wanted to have sex with 10 birds at the same time, and that's right, you heard me right. Birds. I just shrugged it off and told him whatever tickles your fancy, dude. But I think it was one of his crazy fantasies. Well, when Bridling was finished riding Rick's dick, he untied Rick from the bed and went to sleep. Rick was paralyzed with fear so much that he couldn't move from the corner the entire night. Once Rick had finally regained his sanity and desperately tried to find a way out of the room, with no prevail. The only way in and out was through the front door, which had been locked. Bridling had locked the door before he started to rape Rick, but luckily, Rick remembered where he had seen him hide the key. He remembered that after he was done raping him, he took the key off his crafting table and shoved it up his butt. Rick didn't even want to attempt to get it, so he just waited until morning. When morning finally came and Bridling woke up, he decided he was going to rape Rick again. This time, Bridling stuck his mouth on Rick's penis and started to suck. He sucked Rick's penis for a good 20 minutes. He kept trying to get his mouth to go down the entire length of the penis, but he couldn't. Every time he tried, he could only get it about 3/4 the way down. When Bridling finally got bored of doing this, he used his secret trick to make Rick unload his hot cum inside of his mouth. Right after that, Bridling forced Rick to make out with him so he could taste what he just unloaded in Bridling's mouth. Rick was about ready to kill himself at this point. He was so disappointed in what he had found in this new dimension that he started to wish that he never left the Nether. Well, later that day, when Bridling finally left to go mining, Rick realized that he had left the door unlocked. Rick, without hesitation, quickly escaped and left the horrible place that he was forced to spend his time in. Rick then went on a quest in the overworld, trying to find a new place he could live in the overworld. After a couple hours, Rick realized that he had forgotten his wallet in Bridling's room. So Rick, fearing identity theft, went back to the town high up in the trees to retrieve his wallet. When he got back, he found that the entire back wall has been removed for renovations to make the room bigger since he was going to be living there. Once Rick walked back inside the house, Bridling came home from the mine. Rick was so scared, he didn't know what to do, so he quickly followed his instincts and jumped out the room through the hole in the wall. When Rick hit the ground, he didn't know what to do. He knew that Bridling was going to start to chase after him, so he got up and started running. But from out of nowhere, Z-Knight Z showed up and tried to catch Rick with his fishing pole. This really irritated Rick, so Rick started to charge at Z-Knight Z. Rick nearly killed him, but luckily for Z-Knight Z, in Rick's haste, he fell off the top of the bridge all the way down to the ground, which was 16 blocks down. Rick was really hurt, and before he could even recover to even try to run away, Bridling was already down on the ground with him. Rick did the only thing he could think of and started to attack Bridling. Bridling gave Rick one good smack, and that knocked Rick out unconscious. A few days later, when Rick finally woke up, he ran behind the nether portal and threatened to jump off if anybody bothered him. He is still there as of the time I am writing this, but he might have jumped and died, or he might have went back to the nether by the time you are reading this. But as for now, this is the story of the poor zombie Pigman and his terrible ideals in the overworld. The end. True story.
Counting sheep once again, hiding from the